Midjourney is good at creating images from text, but is it still the best tool that has ever existed? Probably not. You can certainly generate thousands of beautiful and hyper-realistic images with Midjourney. I don't doubt its capabilities. However, there are drawbacks. Your queries are censored, there are numerous other limitations. You're required to pay a monthly subscription fee, regardless of how much you actually use it. In contrast, Stable Diffusion is entirely free and open source, supported by a vast community with thousands of available models. And I have already covered how to install SDXL locally in my previous tutorials. But to use Stable Diffusion, you need a GPU. GPUs are expensive, produce a lot of heat, and can be noisy. Investing in a powerful GPU doesn't make sense if you only use Stable Diffusion occasionally. This is a situation where renting may be more practical than buying. With services like Runpod, you can rent a high-powered GPU for just 20 cents an hour. They charge you per minute, and the prepaid balance never expires. The same $10 you'd spend on Midjourney could last you for months on Runpod. The prices you see on the main page are genuine. It's not a marketing gimmick. Inside, you'll find the same rates without any additional charges, and the GPUs are readily available. However, the drawback is that you won't find a Windows OS with a user-friendly interface inside. Typically, you'll encounter minimalistic Linux-based images that require some command line skills to operate. While you don't need to be a programmer, it's not as straightforward as simply typing something into Discord. While there are some desktop images available, setting up Stable Diffusion on them can be challenging. Personally, I'm not a fan of the look and feel of Jupyter notebooks. While they are powerful tools, the user experience leaves much to be desired. But is there a better alternative?
Get in there! Boy, am I glad this is the last time I have to wrestle with this Python. You see, I switched to the
Stable Diffusion Desktop template. I essentially took a Linux desktop OS, pre-installed all the necessary libraries and dependencies, and integrated the latest Stable Diffusion from Automatic 11.11. To run it, all you have to do is to choose a GPU and click Deploy. After waiting a few minutes, you'll receive a desktop session with the latest version of SDXL. The link is available in the description or on my website, aimarketingteacher.com. Also, remember to subscribe to my channel so you can stay updated on new customized templates and AI-related tools. After choosing the GPU, if you don't wish to customize anything further, simply click on Deploy and wait for the image to load on the server. This can take a few minutes depending on the server's internet connection speed and whether parts of it are already cached. Once the instance has finished downloading and is operational, you can click on the Connect button. It might take an additional 10 to 20 seconds for the server to become responsive. It's best to wait until you observe some CPU load before clicking. Upon clicking Connect, you'll be presented with three options: Connect to port 6901, Connect to port 7860, or Start a web terminal. To access the desktop session, select the first option. The default user is Chasm user. Default password is password. The second option allows you to connect directly to the web UI, similar to other popular Stable Diffusion templates. This option becomes functional once the Stable Diffusion is launched. Once you've logged in, you'll see a desktop session similar to what you'd find on your local computer. Several programs come pre-installed, including the Chrome and Firefox browsers, as well as the Sublime text editor. While you have the option to install your own software, remember that this is a container, not a virtual machine. Unless you deliberately save something to a persistent folder, it will be deleted upon the next reboot. On the initial launch, you need to be patient as the latest Stable Diffusion XL models load. The system also auto-updates to the most recent release of the Automatic 11.11 web UI. All Stable Diffusion files can be found in the persistent folder on your desktop. You can sync this folder with your cloud accounts or choose to keep it stored indefinitely on Runpod for an additional fee. I'll delve into these details further in a later segment. The Stable Diffusion inside operates on the same Automatic 11.11 web UI as you'd encounter on a Windows machine. If you're unfamiliar with how to use it, I recommend checking out my previous tutorials. Let's generate an image of a cat. As you can see, it just works. No need to do anything. On your desktop, you'll find a persistent directory where all Stable Diffusion files are stored. This setup is very similar to what you'd see in Windows. For a better understanding of how Runpod operates, I suggest reading the documentation on their website. It's written in clear language and will help you become familiar with the terminology and the underlying technologies. Perhaps the most crucial aspect to grasp is the difference between the secure and community cloud, as it directly influences the price you pay. Essentially, the secure cloud ensures that your images run in a Tier 4 data center, likely on the most advanced, secure, and redundant hardware available. If you're not a business entity, these additional features might not be necessary for you. The most noticeable difference might be the enhanced internet speed. Community cloud servers are typically not as fast or secure, but they are more affordable. Many individuals who once mined cryptocurrencies on their GPUs now lease their computing power to companies like Runpod. Here are the speed test results from the secure cloud. Your home internet connection is probably a lot slower than this. As I mentioned earlier, files on your pod or container aren't stored indefinitely. They are deleted whenever you stop or restart the instance, unless they are saved in persistent storage. After each restart, you're provided with a completely fresh machine devoid of any personal files. If you prefer not to download all the models and wish to retain your personal settings between sessions, you have two alternatives. Retain the pod and pay Runpod for file storage. Sync your files with a service like Dropbox and restore them later. If you're only interested in generating images occasionally, you can bypass all these steps and simply spend an extra 5 minutes downloading the models you need. For basic users, it functions seamlessly right out of the box without any need to overcomplicate things. Storing 50 gigabytes of data on Runpod servers will cost you about $10 a month. As an alternative, you can use Dropbox, where you'll get 2 terabytes of storage for a similar price. Next, I'll demonstrate how to sync your files with Dropbox. While your instance is active, click on the Cloud Sync button. Next, we'll set up our Dropbox account. If you're more comfortable with a text guide, there's an excellent tutorial on the Runpod site. Alternatively, you can follow my instructions here. Navigate to the DBX platform, select the full Dropbox access type, enter a unique name, and then click on the Create App button. Next, click on the Permissions tab and adjust the file and metadata permissions. After making the changes, click Submit, and then navigate back to the Settings tab. From here, generate an access token and ensure you store it securely. Anyone with this token can access your files. Now head back to Runpod and click on Cloud Sync, then select Dropbox. Choose Copy to Dropbox and paste in the access token. You might encounter an error message occasionally, but in most cases, it can be disregarded. Just be patient, and soon you'll observe that the syncing process has commenced. The Dropbox method might appear intricate to some users, but there are numerous other methods to sync or transfer your files. For instance, once you've logged into your desktop session, you can simply use the standard Dropbox app for synchronization. Alternatively, you can resort to various file-sharing websites. Another approach is to sign in to your Gmail account and upload your files directly to Google Drive. There are a lot of simple and straightforward solutions available. The cloud sync is complete. Let's test if we can run Stable Diffusion from the synced Dropbox folder on my Windows machine. As demonstrated, it functions seamlessly. By storing everything in Dropbox, you can easily share your models and config files between the cloud and your local computer. Another method to transfer files between Runpod and your local machine is through a software called Runpodctl. I've provided a link in the description. It's already pre-installed on my Stable Diffusion desktop image. Using it is straightforward. Just follow the tutorial on their website. Essentially, it boils down to 2 console commands, one for sending and one for receiving files. Runpod isn't the only cloud GPU rental provider out there. Many alternatives are available. If you're seeking an even more affordable option, consider vast.ai. They offer GPU rentals starting at just 3 cents an hour. However, the user experience isn't as polished, and there are some downsides. You can find the link in the description. I plan to delve into how to achieve a comparable desktop experience to Runpod in a future video. For those who are new to image generation and want to use Stable Diffusion, the TensorArt service might be a great starting point. Think of it as a managed version of Stable Diffusion. They provide a generous amount of free tokens for image generation, taking care of the technical intricacies on your behalf. Most likely, you won't incur any costs unless you're generating images in the thousands. While this service is user-friendly and produces visually pleasing images, it does come with limited configuration options. For even more advanced image results, it's recommended to opt for a standard Stable Diffusion installation rather than this simplified service. If you have any questions, requests, or encounter any issues with the Stable Diffusion desktop image, please leave a comment below this video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this.